Super Nintendo. Of course, I don't have the controller in my hands right now, but like, fuck, just listening to the F-Zero soundtrack, just so good. Huh? Why are you here?
I got a PlayStation.
PlayStation?
Yeah.
Let me guess. It's 32-bit.
Yeah, you're right, actually.
It actually is?
Yeah?
Where's the cartridge slot?
There is no cartridge slot, dumbass.
There is no cartridge slot? Then
CDs.
how the hell do you play the games?
CDs. Your CDs,
What?
idiot.
It's CD-based?
Yeah.
Like, you know, the music CDs?
Music. Yeah.
Dude, give me it.
Okay.
Welcome back to another video. Now, of course, we're going to be talking about the PlayStation in this video. And, well, let's just say, this thing, yeah, you read the title. This thing was Nintendo's fault. This existed because Nintendo screwed up. Because, see, Nintendo teamed with Sony to make an add-on for this. Now, I'm not going to go too into depth because this isn't really supposed to be a history video. But pretty much, they're going to make a CD-based add-on for the Super Nintendo. Except the contract said, okay, Nintendo, we're going to make the shit. We're going to put your games on the discs, and we're going to get all the profits from the games and the add-on. We're going to get all of those, we're going to get all the profits. Huh, that's a problem. Nintendo's not getting anything out of this, so they pulled out. And Sony was like, oh, screw you. So they were originally planning on making a PlayStation, except it had the CD base, but it also had a built-in Super Nintendo. But then I think it was Sony and Nintendo got back together, if I remember correctly. And they were going to make another add-on? No, sorry. They were going to make a console it was a CD-based console that played the Super Nintendo games. And then so Nintendo left the deal, pissed PlayStation off, so they're like, okay, we'll just release this as our own thing. They almost did. And then they got back together, and they were gonna make an add-on for the Super Nintendo. I apologize. So then that fell through, and Sony was like, you know what, screw this, I'm gonna just make my own console. No, yeah, they did talk to Sega, but this isn't a Sega video, now is it? Either way, Sony, PlayStation. Yeah, there's so many ways to play PlayStation 1 games. Like, pretty much, if you have a PlayStation 2 or a PlayStation 3, you can play these games. Therefore, PlayStation 1 is pretty much useless. The original PlayStation 1 is pretty much useless. I mean, I have my PS3, and it's kind of nice because, you know, it's a backwards compatible one, so it plays 1, 2, and 3 PlayStation games. This was the first console that completely depended, or sorry, the first successful console that completely depended on CD-ROMs. Yeah, there were add-ons like the Sega CD and the TurboGrafx CD, and then there were consoles like the Philips CDI, and I think even the 3DO. They used CDs, but they flopped. This was the first console that used CDs with no cartridges that was successful. And this was fucking successful in a huge way. This humiliated the Super Nintendo. This thing was 32-bit, which... That's a lot of bits. Like, that's a lot of bits compared to the Super Nintendo. This thing's powerful. Well, and yeah. The controller's actually good, too. Let's look. Does this controller look familiar in some way? Yeah, it's a PlayStation 1 controller. Oh my god, it's a PlayStation controller without the joysticks. No, well, yeah, you can say that, but this controller looks familiar. Oh, I don't know. Super Nintendo controller? D-pad? 4 buttons? A start and a select? Trigger buttons? That's kind of suspicious. Now, granted, it does have another set of those and actual grips, even though the grips aren't that good. I still like the Super Nintendo controller more. It's still it works. In fact, I like it, but it just feels cheap. I mean, I guess the Super Nintendo controller felt cheap too, but not as cheap as this. And, well, when the Nintendo 64 came out, it had a joystick. I'll get to talking about that in the next video, I think, actually. So, Sony was like, hey, we copied Nintendo already, why don't we do it again? That's in a nutshell. So they made the DualShock. It has joysticks, and it's bigger. Like, if you want to look at it, it's bigger. It also has nicer grips, and it's better quality, and the two triggers, these are bigger. People say this is the real way to play PlayStation 1 games, and yeah, I would anyways, but I still prefer this controller, actually, because I think the joysticks make these grips way too small. And that's a problem because the DualShock 2 and the DualShock 3 were the exact same controller layout. This controller came out in 1996 or 1997. So if it was used all the way past the PlayStation 3, that's like a 15-year-old design. But I mean, it works for the games that you play. But yeah. So mind you, when I said I got this stuff cheap, I wasn't joking. I got that PlayStation console for $5, and I got this for like $2, and I got this for like $5. Games are getting expensive though, and yeah, well, talking about games, let's play some games. This is a good console too. This is a good game too, isn't it? I mean, I ain't got it many other good PlayStation 1 games. I'm sorry, okay? 14-year-olds can't afford much. Oh yeah, by the way, Sony PlayStation on Sony TV. Why do you guys like my TV so much? I'm not judging, that's just a genuine question. I don't mean to offend you, but... Anyways, if the game would load... Oh yeah, I guess that's one thing you do gotta say about this game. You have to wait for the damn thing to load. You didn't have to do that with the Super Nintendo. No, I guess it's CD. I mean, it is a CD game. That's the downside to CD-based games. It doesn't take as long to load as computer games, but I mean, nothing takes as long. I could learn a language by the time it takes to finish downloading a game. So yeah, 3D game. It doesn't help that I'm using the non-joystick controller, but it's a 3D game. That's like crazy. I forgot how to play this game. Whoa. There we go. Spooty Man. Bang, bang. Did I just... Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I did Booty Man.
Spider sense tingling. What's going on here?
Spider sense they're tingling. Oh, the tingly feeling. I'm sorry. Okay. Well, you can already tell the PlayStation is way more powerful than the Super Nintendo. Because the game is in fucking 3D. What? Well, I mean, I guess we can look at another game. Now, before you say, why'd you pick a collection? You could have picked a game that pushes the hardware. Well, I picked a collection just to show you cannot fit this many games on a Super Nintendo cartridge. Or really any cartridge. Yeah, there's collections on the N64, but you can fit, like, I only really know Pole Position, Galaxian, Dig Dug, and Miss Pac-Man, but you can't just fit all of these games on a cartridge, unless you really try. Of course, I'm cracked at Miss Pac-Man. No, I'm not, but just... Oh yeah, you still gotta load. forgot how to play. There we go. But see, it's full arcade games. Wow, my bad. Full arcade games on the game, which nowadays sounds worthless. Why would you? You could do that on any console. Hell, you could do that on Nintendo Switch. That's not the point I'm trying to make here. The point is that having this many games on one disc was crazy. Oh, please, we're good. No! I might suck at Miss Pac-Man, but goddamn, you couldn't fit a copy of Miss Pac-Man like this on a Nintendo, or barely even the Super Nintendo. But then you look at this and it's fucking the exact arcade port on the PlayStation, which is crazy. Oh, I was close. Oh, I still missed some. And there's I think there's 5 Namco collections, and there's multiple Atari 2600 collections, there's an Intellivision collection, there might even be a ColecoVision collection. There's so many collections that you can just get on PlayStation. It's really cool. PlayStation really is one of the coolest consoles. And it sure as hell did beat out the Nintendo 64 in sales. Personally, I still prefer the N64, but hey, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you want to. I don't really care. And yeah. You have a nice day. Goodbye.